The origins of volleyball. Volleyball is played by hundreds of millions around the world. Kids hit the ball on beaches, Olympians compete under bright lights, soldiers have set up matches between wars. It's probably been played on every continent but Antarctica. Who knows, maybe even the penguins have tried it. Like with most things that catch on, people eventually wanted its origin to be neat and tidy, so they invented a birthday for it. For decades, books said William G. Morgan invented volleyball on February 9th, 1895 at the Holyoke YMCA. It's a tidy date, easy to remember, and great for plaques. But history doesn't care how good something looks on a plaque. History keeps receipts. Morgan himself never said February 9. He only said 1895, and mentioned working on the game in the winter. Payroll records add another twist. He was still working in Auburn, Maine until the end of August 1895, and didn't show up in Holyoke until August 30th. A fellow cannot invent a game inside a Massachusetts gymnasium while collecting his paycheck in Maine. Human beings haven't learned that trick, so the famous February birthday falls apart under the weight of basic paperwork. That's both a letdown and kind of great. Morgan worked for the YMCA, which counted among those rare American places where people were expected to solve problems rather than file reports about them. Local directors experimented. If an idea worked, somebody else borrowed it. If it didn't, it quietly vanished. 4 years earlier, another YMCA instructor, James Naismith, had invented basketball. Young people loved it. They also crashed into one another with remarkable enthusiasm. Older businessmen and church members found the experience less attractive, especially if they wished to keep all their teeth. Morgan sees people struggling and thinks, there's gotta be a better way. He borrowed a tennis net, he borrowed ideas from basketball, baseball, and handball. He tried things. Some failed immediately, others survived another afternoon. Every improvement rested on something somebody else had already figured out. We love hearing about lone geniuses, but real life is more about teamwork. Friends wandered into the gym. They argued over rules. They raised the net. They lowered it. Somebody suggested something ridiculous. Somebody else accidentally came across something brilliant. Dr. Frank Woods helped shape the rules. Holyoke Fire Chief John Lynch joined the experiments. Players offered opinions, whether anyone asked them or not. Morgan listened to them all. And that does not make him less of an inventor, but it makes him recognizable. By 1896, the game was advanced enough to be demonstrated at the YMCA Physical Directors Conference in Springfield. During the exhibition, Professor Alfred Halstead noticed the players spent the afternoon volleying the ball back and forth. He suggested the name volleyball. Sometimes history shifts just because someone comes up with a better name. YMCA instructors carried it to schools, colleges, and recreation centers. Missionaries packed it beside their Bibles. Soldiers packed it beside their rifles. Teachers packed it beside lesson plans. It required very little equipment, almost no money, and hardly any explanation. The February 9th story stuck around because it's easier to celebrate a tidy story than a complicated one. Late 1895, after months of trial and error by a bunch of people, doesn't fit on a plaque. Eventually, historians returned to Morgan's own words, payroll ledgers, and employment records. They followed the evidence wherever it wandered, even when it wandered away from a story everybody already knew. That is history at its best. The International Volleyball Hall of Fame finally accepted the evidence and set the record straight. Morgan stayed the inventor, just a real person, not a legend. Personally, I prefer the human version. He saw a problem, borrowed good ideas, listened to others, and kept tweaking the game until regular people liked playing it. That's a better story than a miracle happening on a random Tuesday in February. It's also closer to the truth. Truth, unlike mythology, never minds showing its paperwork.